Hi, welcome to our Exegetical Task video number 9. In this video, we're going to be looking at Task 9. You'll find this in your Exegetical Tasks document. Scroll down to Task 9, Syntactical Matters. And it's not that syntax matters to you, it's that we have matters that are syntactical in nature. All right. The goal here is to understand how each word in the passage functions in the author's attempt to provide discoverable meaning in the text. So what is the functions of each word? All right, I'm going to transition to my PowerPoint this time. Please follow along in your packet and make notes as needed. So syntax matters. What we'll do, identify first of all the tense of every verb, participle, and noun, and adverb in your paragraph. You may have been already parsing these, but you need to identify it here for the step. Pay special attention to things like prepositional phrases functioning as adverbs, because they most often do in Greek. Write this on your sentence flow from task 7. In other words, you're going to add this grammatical information, and this is to the Greek one rather than your translation one. All right, identify the referent for every pronoun in your passage. Every pronoun points back to some kind of nominal thing, person, place, or idea. Make sure you identify which one it is. If you're having trouble identifying it, make sure that you match gender and number. It's not as important to match case because the case changes as it needs to for each sentence's role. But make sure it matches gender and number. Decide who is included and who is excluded for plurals, and particularly we, the we statements. It's a famous thing. Who is the we in Acts or in Luke? That's a big debate, and all kinds of things have been written on the we. Who does it include? Who does it exclude? Who is meant by the we? That one's a problematic one, but any plurals that you have, who is it referring to? Who is included? Who's excluded? These decisions will inform how you understand the passage. Decide if the Lord, anytime Lord is used, if it's referring to God the Father or to Jesus Christ. All right. Decide what type of clause you have for each clause in your passage. In other words, you've already decided between independent clause and dependent clauses, but now I want you to go through and decide on its level. What kind of information does it provide? So here's some options. Declarative, it provides factual information. Interrogative, it's asking a question. Imperative, it's giving an order or command. Subjunctive, and you can pick this one off pretty easy by the subjunctive mood of the verb. But someone might or should do something. All right. Decide how each subordinate clause relates to the independent clause. Options include cause. In other words, this clause is the cause for the previous clause, or the result of the previous clause, or the purpose, or the time of the previous clause. It tells us when the action occurred. Be sure that you locate conditional clauses and decide what kind of clause it is, what kind of conditional clause it is. Greek has a number of conditional clause types. You want to be able to identify which one it is. The grammar of conditional clause greatly affects what kind of thing we determine from them. Greek uses either 4 or 5 classes of conditional clauses. 4 or 5 classes to describe the conditional clauses and mark their function. And I say 4 or 5 because the 5th class is debatable. Locate genitive absolutes, articular infinitives, and periphrastic verbs. These are also going to be tricky to interpret. Make sure you identify them so that you can think about the options when you go to translate them. And in the latter two, there's options. In the former, the genitive absolute, there's a specific way to translate those. Don't miss that particularity. Note their special function. Write the pertinent info on the sentence flow that you've been working with. All right, here's some examples of some logical statements. Nominative, and you have this information on the back of your syllabus. So these are the relational labels that Dan Wallace gives. and it's kind of a summary there in your syllabus. At the back, you should have these labels. So you have uses for the nominative case, uses for the vocative, uses for the genitive. Notice that there's quite a few for the genitive. We've got 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages here. Be sure you're aware of all of those options before you try to interpret the genitive. You have to decide which one it is on each case here in your Greek. A dative here, we've got a number of possibilities for the dative and a few more. All right, two slides there. All right, and the accusative. The accusative can be any of these. Now, here is an example of my sentence flow from a James project I worked on. Notice here that underneath each Greek word, I have identified the role of that word. So tis is an indefinite pronoun, but it is the subject. It's in the nominative case. And then under a me, I've decided on the nomic use of the verb. He is, but he always is. And then sophos is a predicate nominative. And we don't actually have a me in the text here. It's a tis and sophos together. But that's a verbless clause. So we supply the a me in order to analyze it and provide its function. But it's a nominal sentence. And so that's how we know that sophos is predicate. All right. Then we have chi, which is a coordinating conjunction. I marked that with coord right there. And then we have another predicate nominative. So we have 2 predicate nominatives there, and that's an independent clause. Verbless, but independent. All right. And then down below we have dexato. This one here is a jussive. So let him do something. And then ta erga is the direct object. We have that marked as a nominative or as an accusative. And then autou is a genitive, and we decided that was possessive. The works of him, his works, the works which he did, the works which he owns. All right. Tes kalais anastrophes. We have a prepositional use of the genitive. That preposition in green required the genitive in yellow. And that's how we ended up with that decision. And then en prauteti, seems like I didn't mark anything there, but you can mark things like manner here. Anytime you've got en plus the dative, it's often a manner adverb. There's other uses too. It could be locational, but it seems to be a manner for the action when you do something in meekness. All right. Here we have a few more. Just to kind of show you a few. We marked the echete there, the first verb, as a customary or habitual present. And notice it's fully parsed right after it there. It's a indicative, present active, second plural from echo. That's the standard that you want to use when you're identifying parts of speech here. The second verb down is imperative, present middle, second plural. And then I've supplied the root. It means it is a command in this case. So the imperative is functioning as a command. And the next imperative is also functioning as a command. So we mark the keywords as to what they're doing in our clause structure. All right, that concludes step 9. I wish you the best as you work on your syntactical matters. Avail yourself to the Wallace list at the back of the syllabus, or you can work through the Wallace text itself, especially if you need reminders on explaining any of those functions. I wish you the best and ask God's blessing upon you, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.